So with Anim Kanulai defending his IBF title against Andre Mikhailovich the other day over there in Australia, and the WBO organization wanting to question him about his dealings with his WBO title and why he didn't have it up for contention in that fight, and maybe even looking to strip him of the title, we are going to look at the two fighters in the number 1 and number 2 spot for the WBO, because if it becomes vacant, there's a chance that them two could fight for the vacant title. We're talking about Hamza Shiraz, and the subject of this video today, the fighter profile of Denzel Bentley. So Denzel Bentley is a native of Ghana. Both parents from Ghana came over to the UK, had their sons, Denzel Bentley, one of them, and Denzel Bentley is not one of these guys that started boxing young. He wasn't a little bad boy on the streets fighting and then someone saw him and said, no, you need to fight in the gym, and took him to the boxing gym as a 6, 7, 8, 10-year-old and all of this type of stuff. No. He was brought up in South London, in Battersea area, Patmore Estate to be exact, and he was just a regular young man, polite young man in the area, just doing his thing. He was very bright at school to the point where he was able to go to university. He started university, but eventually dropped out of university. He played a lot of football back in the day, and he ended up dropping out of university to actually be a boxer. He's got a story about how his brother went and got some boxing gloves.
15, my brother went 9 Elms Market. He bought gloves, head guard, and just like long story short, me, him and a man would just be fighting on the end somewhere. We find a block, proper block door open, be like, yeah, me and you are the same height, like same size, like let's rock it out, innit? Let's see who can beat you up. You just start calling out your brethren, like, yeah, I reckon I can beat you up, let's put on the gloves, and then we just start kind of fighting each other. That was like my first introduction to boxing, because I never used to watch boxing, I weren't interested in it. I was trying to play football. Move on, fast forward to like college times. About 17, my friend was like, yeah, he boxes. I was like, yeah, cool, take me to your gym. Took me to his gym, and then, yeah, kind of went on from there.
As a 19-year-old, he drops out of uni to take on boxing full time. So now he's training hard, and he's had an amateur career of 3 years.
17 amateur fights.
Yeah.
What was the amateur record?
113 out of 17, lost 4.
And then he's turned pro. So he's another one of these guys that started boxing very late in their actual life, where most boxers start boxing from single figures or very early double figures, i.e. 10, 11. Denzel started boxing when he was like 18, 19. Such like Anthony Joshua and such like Deontay Wilder, these type of guys. Denzel Bentley, though, is shown to have a lot more skill than he gave himself credit for. And he has had a decent career. Starting off in the small hall shows, such as York Hall, he ended up having a beginning of 13 fights and 13 victories in the pros. Once he'd done that, at some point early on, Queensberry Promotions somehow found him. Maybe it was because of his affiliations from the Peacock Gym and his trainer Martin Bowers and his links with Queensberry. I'm not sure, that's speculation, but I'm assuming that because early on in his career, he found himself on Queensberry shows and beating guys, subsequently ending up fighting in his 13th fight for the British middleweight title. Ends up winning it, retiring Mark Heffron, who he drew with previously. He then ends up stopping him in the 4th round and moving on to, in his 14th fight, fighting for the Commonwealth and the British title, fighting the Commonwealth champion Felix Cash at the time. He ends up having a loss, TKO loss against Felix Cash in the 3rd round, and he's determined to come back and reclaim his position as one of the best in at least the UK. So after coming back and winning against Sam Evans, he then fights for the British title again against Linus Udofia, and he ends up having a split decision victory over Linus, and then having a nice, decent TKO victory over Marcus Morrison. So this is early on in his career. He's like 14, 15 fights in. And it just so happened that he was able to have a title fight against Anim Kanulai in his 19th fight. And he puts up a great showing against Anim Kanulai. A very good showing. It went the distance and he lost by unanimous decision. Now, I think you might have heard me say before in previous videos, if you've watched them, that I believe that if he had a bit more experience and a little bit more belief in himself, he could have pushed himself to actually win that fight. I think that Denzel Bentley is one of these old school fighters where a loss can only improve him. He suffered that loss, has a win, and then has a loss against Nathan Heaney in a fight that I blatantly said this guy's getting knocked out by Denzel. And he pushed him for 12 rounds and it was a majority decision loss. Now, while that was happening, what I didn't know at the time is that he had a son that was born 6 weeks premature at the time. So his mind was not in the game. He was blatantly looking to be by his son's side more than not. And so he went into that fight clouded in his mind and such like. But there's no excuses in boxing. He went in there, had the fight, and he lost majority decision. But he didn't take a beating per se. He lost and he's like, I need to get myself back up to world title contention because this young man wants to be a world champion. And I believe he's in him. I believe he can do it. So after that fight with Nathan Heaney, he has now had 2 victories. And he is in line back up in the WBO reckoning in the 2nd spot. So Hamza Shiraz is the #1 contender and Denzel Bentley is #2. I don't know if they're going to make that fight or if they're just going to give the belt to Hamza Shiraz or if they're going to let Yanibek Anim keep his belt and then he has to fight Hamza Shiraz to defend the title. I am not sure. But with Denzel Bentley being #2 in their rankings, I believe that he is more than likely going to have a WBO title fight again in the future. I'm watching closely. I rate Denzel Bentley highly. I think he's a very, very calculated young man. He speaks very well. He represents his mother country to the fullest. And he's very much a philanthropist type thinker. He's a humanitarian type thinker. He wants to help his community. He's about giving back to the community. And he also is about becoming a world champion in boxing. Whether he does that or not is yet to be seen. Whether he's of the level of a world champion or not is yet to be seen. But from what he's shown, he has the mentality of a champion and he has the work rate of a world champion. And he must be doing something right because despite his losses, Frank Warren still keeps him close to the fighting circuit. I mean, there's so many boxers that just don't make it in boxing. They just don't make it. They can have 1-2 losses and they get dropped by their promoter. A lot of fighters don't even have promoters. So for Queensberry to keep Denzel in and around the mix and keep him getting good fights speaks to the belief that they have in him. So I'm watching closely as Denzel Bentley continues his march back to world title contention. The fight with Hamza Shiraz will be a very, very good fight. They're both on the same side promotional wise. So I can see that being a fight made in the future sometime. If Hamza does not get to fight for a title straight away, he is also WBC #1 contender, but he doesn't seem to be running down Carlos Adames the way he's running down Yanibek Anim. So we'll see what's going on pushing forward with Denzel Bentley. Who does he fight next? Does he still have a bring-along fight to just keep him busy in the mean and between time? Or does he get that title fight? We shall see. But for now, respect to Denzel Bentley. I respect your journey. I can see what you're doing and I'm rooting for you, my guy. I just wish you had started boxing 10 years prior. Why you never got pick up the gloves when you was a 9-year-old? I picked up the gloves early in my life. My dad put the gloves on me. I mean, did love boxing. And then when my brethren and I went to the gym later on in life and I got punched in the nose, I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. Denzel Bentley, he went to the gym and got punched in the nose. He said, right, I'm coming back. I'm coming back to show you, man, that you, man, can't punch me up. And there lies the difference. So go for it, Denzel Bentley. I rate you. Let's see what happens going forward. And I will see you guys in the next video.